All right, Kevin, you're free to close those doors. Alright, looks like everyone is seated comfortably. Doors are closed, ramps are up. Kevin, you have your highball. Alright, everyone, welcome aboard the Broadmoor, Manitou, and Pikes Peak Railway. I do have some safety announcements to go over as we get going here, so I do need everyone's attention here at the center of the train where I am standing. Thank you. Alright, in case of a water landing, your seat can be used as a flotation device. Just kidding, I don't think that's going to happen today. Here are the real rules. As you can see, these windows roll down quite a bit. Anything you want to take home with you today, that includes your cell phones, your cameras, your favorite limbs, and your least favorite relatives. Please keep all those things inside the train at all times. We do drive very closely to stationary objects such as rocks and trees and telephone poles, and they like to grab things out of people's hands. We do not stop for dropped items, so once again, anything you want to take home with you today, please keep inside the train at all times. This second one is a long one. As a matter of fact, it runs the length of this train. As you can see going down the center of this train is this aisleway. We like to call this the conductor's aisle. That's because your conductor is the only person who gets to walk up and down this aisle while the train is in motion. Please do not stand in, walk up and down, or cross this aisle while we are in motion. This train weighs 115 tons and it can stop in less than 3 seconds. If you are caught in this aisle during one of these stops, you'll learn what it's like to fly. Flying might sound like fun, but I assure you that crash landing into your neighbor or on the ground is not so much fun. So please keep that aisleway clear for me the entire trip. Number 3, in the rare case of an emergency, please do not all call 911 at once. We're on the side of the mountain, and there's only 3 people who know where we are. That is your engineer up front, myself, and our dispatch. If you do have an emergency, please activate the people around you. They usually make a lot of noise, and I will come and help you and get you in contact with the appropriate authorities. I'm going to go to the train real fast for a quick head count for my engineer, and I'll be right back with you. feet. That's an elevation gain of about to introduce today's crew. Way up at the front of the train there in that tiny black glass box, you'll see our talented engineer, Kevin. Everyone say hello, Kevin! Hello, Kevin! It's Kevin's job to drive this train safely up and down this mountain like we've had so many times before to make sure we don't get lost. My name is JC, and I will be your conductor this morning. Hello, everyone! Hello. It's my job to make sure you all get up and down this mountain safely, and I'll be providing a narrative of all the fun and interesting things that have happened during our 131-year history. It's with great pride I welcome you aboard the Broadmoor, Manitou, and Pikes Peak during our 2022 season. After nearly 130 years of continuous operation, we've only closed down once, and that was during the years of 2017 through 2021. We closed down the railway, and with $100 million worth of investment, we replaced every inch of our track. We updated our depot. We brought 3 brand new trains, one of which you are riding on right now. We updated 4 of our older models, and we truly spared no expense, bringing this railway into the 21st century. And we hope to ride for decades to come. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride up America's Mountain by Rail. pointing out some landmarks on this trip, so if I can have everyone please look to your left. Now to your right. And let's try your other right. Well, this is not going to work out. We have people facing all kinds of directions on this train. So to make things a little bit easier, I will point out things on the 2-seat side of the train or the 3-seat side of the train, so nobody misses out on anything cool. Here comes our first chance to practice this on the 2-seat side of the train. As we get past this big boulder here, we're going to look for a rock that fell down the mountain in the shape of a diamond. We are very creative with our names here at the Cog Railway, so we call this one Diamond Rock. Don't look up, look at about track level for this one. Diamond Rock is now passing the center of the train. Diamond Rock, like all the other rocks around us, is made up of a very special mixture of mica, feldspar, and quartz. Now we do love our rocks around here, so please don't take them for granted. Actually, it's called Pikes Peak granite, and it's a mixture of 900 million year old rock. Now Pikes Peak granite is very fragile and prone to erosion, such as wind and water erosion. We also have another kind of erosion up here called ice wedging. Ice wedging occurs when water seeps into the cracks of the rocks, freezes and expands, and it breaks these rocks apart into all these interesting shapes you will see around us today. Now as we get higher and higher, the rocks will actually get smaller and smaller. That's because that ice wedging process happens more and more at higher altitudes.
That's what probably happens over there.
On our first waterfall of the day, it will be on the 2-seat side of the train as well. You're going to want to look down from your windows at about track level. This one is called Rose Emma Falls, named after 2 sisters who lived in this area, Rose and Emma. Have been on the 2-seat side of the train so far. But don't you worry, I've got a waterfall just for you. It's so much better than the last one. As a matter of fact, it's higher than Niagara Falls, so get those cameras out, but don't look up, look straight across at Minnehaha Falls. Minnehaha Falls is now passing the center of the train. Now I see some disappointed looks, maybe a glare or two, but I did choose my words correctly. I said it was higher than Niagara Falls, not bigger than Niagara Falls. we will be passing this train on the 3-seat side of the train. These guys are just coming down from the mountain, so give them a big wave as we pass it by. Giving that train a big wave, I'd also invite you to introduce yourselves to the people sitting across from you. Maybe get their names, where they're visiting from, their favorite color, their Wi-Fi password. The reason we do this exercise is because we are about to climb one of our 25% grade hills, and it won't take much to bump you out of that shiny new seat of yours into the lap of the person sitting across from you, and it's much less awkward if you know their names already. A 25% grade means for every 100 feet of forward motion, we will be climbing 25 feet in elevation. To put this into perspective, once this train gets all the way up on this hill, the nose of the train will actually be 4 stories above the bottom of the train. This hill we're climbing right now is called Son of a Gun Hill. It got its name back in the days of our steam engines, when it was the fireman's job to shovel up coal from the steam engine and maintain enough pressure to get to the top of these steep hills. Once they got to the top of the hill, the exhausted firemen would turn to their engineer and say, "Man, that hill was a son of a gun," or something like that. If we get rocks rolling onto our tracks, and we do from time to time. Just last week, there was a rock that rolled onto our tracks, so Kevin and I both had to get out of the train. We pushed and shoved this rock over on the 2-seat side of the train. As Kevin held it up there, I quickly found 3 smaller rocks to prop up underneath it. Let's hope it's still there, folks, because I really don't want to move this one again. You can check out our handiwork on the 2-seat side of the train. This one is called Prop Rock. Oh. Rock is now passing the center of the train. Don't worry, we lifted with our legs. But in all seriousness, a large boulder does find its way onto our tracks from time to time. And when that does happen, we do have friends with dynamite experience that can help us clear the tracks for us. Now, as we're going up today, you might be noticing a lot of trees that have been cut down around us. We are actually in the middle of a fire mitigation project with the city of Colorado Springs. Now, a healthy forest will actually burn down every 70 to 80 years. This forest here has not burned down for over 150 years, and we have quite a bit of overgrowth. And if we keep that overgrowth there, that's what makes those raging wildfires like we had with the Black Forest Fire and the Waldo Canyon Fire about a decade ago. So what we're doing right now is cutting down some of the dead trees and clearing some of the ground. And that's going to help us preserve the infrastructure in this area and help the forest burn down in a healthier manner if this forest does catch on fire later on. It might interest you to know that there was a hotel actually operating here at the head of Ecology Canyon for over 30 years. It started as a modest one-room log cabin, and hikers kept stopping by and asking for snacks. So the owner opened up a lunch stand, and went into business. When the Cog Railway opened, business really took off and expanded to 22 guest rooms, a large banquet hall, a post office, a railway station of course, and of all things, a one-lane bowling alley. The name of this grand establishment was the Halfway House Hotel, and you can stay there for $10 a week. Unfortunately, the hotel did burn down due to mysterious circumstances, and it was razed and removed. All that remains of it are some photographs of it in its heyday, and a sign marking its location over here on the free seat side. It is not a tall sign, folks. You're going to want to look to the bottom of your windows for this one. The location of the Halfway House Hotel is now passing the center of the train. Coming up on our third Waterfalls today on the 3C side of the train. And this one is coming out of a pipe, so I bet you can't guess what we call this one. Pikes Falls. Pikes Falls is connected to the longest and oldest operating hydroelectric plant on this side of the Mississippi River. This hydroelectric plant was built by the city of Colorado Springs in the early 1900s, and it powers about 200 homes in the area. Pikes Falls is now passing the center of the train. Now, along with that hydroelectric plant on the 3C side of the train, you'll also see a white frame house with red trim. This is the caretaker's home. And the caretakers live here year-round with their family and their two dogs, Bruno and Sparky. And you can see the hydroelectric plant in the back of the lot past this caretaker's home. I see Sparky the white dog out for his morning stretch. Now you might be wondering to yourself, how do Bruno and Sparky get their kibbles and bits? Over on the 3C side of the train, you'll see a long dirt road. We lovingly call this Bruno and Sparky's 60-mile-long driveway. Yes, I said 60 as in 60. This 60-mile-long road wraps around all 9 reservoirs on the mountain and ends somewhere between Cripple Creek and Divide. For those fishermen on board wondering if you can access our pristine reservoirs via this road, I'm sorry, this is a private road, not open to the public, but you do have access to 3 of Pikes Peak's reservoirs via the Pikes Peak Highway. Acres in size. To put that into perspective, you can actually fit the entire state of Delaware within its boundaries with some room around the edges. Pike National Forest is home to an abundance of wildlife. Keyword here being wild, folks, so no guarantee on animal sighting today. The animals that do call this forest their home include mountain lions, bobcats, black bear. We have a family of moose in the area. We have mule deer, porcupine, skunks, wild turkeys, rabbits, and squirrels. As we get a little bit higher, the landscape changes and so do the animals. So keep your eyes open for elk, Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, Arctic ravens, golden eagles, and our world famous yellow belly whistling marmots. That's marmots with an M, M-A-R-M-O-T, and they look a lot like fluffy beavers. Now, since I did just told you about the animals that live in this forest, I do have to tell you about the Colorado Wildlife Viewing Act that was just put into law a few weeks ago. This affects areas around tourist attractions such as our railroad. So if you see any animals today, it's going to cost us all 25 cents and got to pay it down at the depot. But there is one exception to this rule. If you see any deer, especially with the ones with the antlers, that one's a buck. You can say we make a lot of dough off of that one. You have me for the next 2.5 hours. The aspen tree was used by the indigenous people of this area and also the animals for its anti-inflammatory properties. If you peel back the bark, there will be a green bark underneath, and that can be chewed to relieve any pain. So if you told me you had a headache, I would tell you to take 2 aspen and see me in the morning. The center aisle and take your seats at this time. Thank you. Do I have anyone on board the train from the great state of Wisconsin? Anyone from Wisconsin? Hello, welcome my friends. I thought I'd interest you to know that the founder of this railway was from Kenosha, Wisconsin. His name was Zalman Simmons, and he was an inventor and entrepreneur. He took a 3-day Euro trip up this mountain to inspect some telegraph lines that he had invented. When he came back down, he said the views from the summit were spectacular, but the 3-day road trip was the most uncivilized thing he had ever done. So when he got back home to Kenosha, he gathered some investors and collected $1.5 million in investment, a tremendous amount of capital back in the day. He bought up all this land here, and the first passengers went up on the Cog Railway June 30th of 1891. Any guesses as to how much a ticket cost back then? $1? 5 cents? 25 cents? How about $5? That's equivalent to about $157 today. That ticket price did not change for about 50 years. Later on, Zalman Simmons sold this railway to local businessman Spencer Penrose, the owner of the Broadmoor Hotel, a 5-star, 5-diamond resort right here in Colorado Springs. Ever since then, the Broadmoor Hotel and the Cog Railway have enjoyed common ownership. Now, if you don't think you've heard the name Zalman Simmons before, I bet you have. if you've ever slept on a Simmons Beauty Rest mattress. That's the same Simmons. Point on our tracks, you can see the summit of Pikes Peak until we are on the summit of Pikes Peak. So if you look off the two-seat side of the train, up the hill quite a way, you can actually see the summit house right now. On rare occasions, you will find mountain lions sunning themselves out there. And on even rare occasions, the mountain lions will tell us they find the park rangers sunning themselves out there. Personally, I've seen neither, but now's a great opportunity to get out those binoculars if you brought any with you today.
When we turn around, we're going to be on this side. Oh no, we'll be on there. So we'll still be on this side.
Now we're going to see some pretty spectacular views here as we get higher and higher. I just would like to take this moment to remind you, please do not stand or cross the center aisle since we are in motion. If you do want to stand up and take a picture, you are allowed to do so in your seating area only. And once you're done taking those pictures, I do recommend that you please take your seats once again. So once again, please do not cross that center aisle to get any pictures. And that's about what we have similar to other railroads. What makes this really special is that third rail you might have seen running down the center of the tracks. This is what we call the rack rail, and the rack rail has teeth cut into it. These teeth measure the 10 cog wheels underneath these trains. It's these cog wheels that provide us all of our motoring and all of our braking power. The standard adhesion railway can only climb grades of 4%, whereas this railway can climb grades of up to 26%. We are not the steepest cog railway in the world. You can find that one in Switzerland, where they climb grades of 48%, and their trains are built like staircases. We are only one of a few dozen cog railways in the world, and only one of 3 in operation here in the United States. You can find the very first cog railway ever built there in New Hampshire, and it goes to the top of Mount Washington. We have another one that goes to the Quincy Mines in Michigan, but we are arguably the most famous, being the longest continuous cog railway in the world, and also the highest cog railway in the world, and also the highest railway of any kind in North America. With an ending elevation of 14,115 feet. To breach the tree line, which means we're almost at an elevation of 11,500 feet. The tree line happens because of the weather, and also the soil is not very good for the trees, and also the lighting around here isn't very good. So that's how we get these stark tree lines around these areas. Also, as we get higher and higher, we usually start having a layer of permafrost under the soil here, so the conditions for plant life isn't very good. But you'd be amazed that there is quite a bit of flora that still grows above tree line. We'll be noticing different kinds of moss, lichen, and we also have these flowering bushes called alpine parsley. Pikes Peak. All the other lakes and reservoirs we will see today are all man-made. Lake Moraine was placed here during the last ice age by a glacier. And if Lake Moraine does look a little man-made to you, that's because the city of Colorado Springs decided to expand its banks a few years ago. And that road you see winding around it, well, that's Bruno and Sparky's 60-mile-long driveway. one, you can actually see out of both sides of the train. If you're on the 3-seat side of the train, you're going to look down about 100 feet from the train. If you're on the 2-seat side of the train, you're going to look up about 50 feet from the train. What you're going to be looking for is these shrubby-looking pine trees with gray bark, and they might look half dead, half alive to you. These are the bristlecone pine trees, and they are some of the oldest dated trees on this mountain. As a matter of fact, that tree down below us from the 3-seat side is the oldest dated tree on this mountain. This bristlecone pine tree is dated at about 2,200 years old. These bristlecone pine trees coming up on our 2-seat side of the train, they're just little babies at about 200 or 300 years old. Easier to see for everyone. If you just look straight ahead from the 3-seat side of the train, you'll see a mountain with a U-shaped tree line. This is Mount Elmo Gray. It is also known by the locals as Mount Baldy. And we also like to call it the Calendar Mountain because its elevation is 12,365 feet. Pikes Peak. Not only did it break the record, it broke our weather equipment. So before it broke our weather equipment, we were clocking wind speeds of 188 miles per hour. That's equivalent to a Category 5 hurricane. So the section crew actually lived up here all summer long when the railway was first built.
Guess how many miles?
We would just walk down to wherever work needed to be done on the tracks. But now our section crew, they have their own work trains where they should just hitch a ride up with us, and they can go back home to their normal families in Colorado Springs. There was actually a baby born in that section crew house, and he grew up to work on the Cog Railway. As a matter of fact, he's your engineer today. Just kidding, just kidding. There was a baby born in that house though. He worked on the railway for 50 years and actually became the section crew foreman, and he died a few years ago at the ripe old age of 103. This train that is passing us right now is one of our older refurbished units. It looks a little different from the two trains we passed and the one we're riding on right now. This train we're riding on right now is a three-car unit, and it's being pushed by a locomotive down at the bottom, like the old steam trains were. This train you're looking at, coming down on the three-seat side, this is a two-car unit, and there's actually 4 engines underneath the cars, making it self-propelled. Your cell phone or your sundial. My watch currently says it is 11:39. Please make sure your timekeeping device says 11:39, especially if you're visiting us from out of town. This train will be leaving the summit at 12:40. 12:40. We will be boarding once again at 12:30. At 12:30, you will hear your engineer Kevin sound the horn 3 long times. That is your cue to make your way back to the train. 5 minutes after that, you will hear him sound the horn 1 long time. That is your cue to run back to the train. We are just like any other train, plane, or boat, and we do not wait for those who are late. What do you call someone who shows up at my platform at 12:41? Late is a good guess. We like to call them hikers. So if you're not planning on hiking down Pikes Peak today, I do recommend that you get back to my train on time. We do recommend that you set an alarm on your phones. That tends to help people out a lot. But please make sure you're back on the train before 12:40.
I got people. It's just people how you can know works up there. So you can remember because
That is the continental divide, known as the backbone of the Americas. This is the same mountain range where if Waterfalls on the west side, it ends up at the Pacific Ocean. If it falls on the east side, it ends up in the Atlantic Ocean or the Gulf of Mexico. On the two-seat side coming up, you'll get the same view as we did at Inspiration Point. You will be able to see the city of Colorado Springs, the Black Forest, and all the way out to the border of Kansas. Make some noise for me if you are visiting us from the Lone Star State. We love it before, my friends. I love my Texans. Now, if you've traveled through Texas, you may have heard that everything is bigger and better in Texas. Do you still believe that? Well, if you still do, I invite you to look out on the two-seat side of the train. I don't know what you all call this where you're from, but here in Colorado, we like to call this gravel. All of the gravel is naturally this small, right here in the Rocky Mountains.
Ramona has more of that. Yeah. That way, it makes it work, doesn't it?
I like it. Sharp
Going from Ramona down to Poway.
They let us stay a little longer. It's only an hour. That's too long. Come on,
corner here, this is where our journey takes a bit of a dark turn. Now, railroading is a dangerous business, and just like any other railroad, we've seen our fair share of casualties. But we only have one grave on the railroad, and that belongs to an original member of our section crew, back from when the railroad is actually being built. Now, that grave does not belong to a human being, though. It belongs to a burro named Mr. Man, because he was like one of the guys. It was Mr. Man's job to carry the dynamite up the mountain, but dynamite is pretty unstable, and one day that dynamite went off just a little too early, sending Mr. Man flying in 17 different directions. Devastated, the section crew stopped the work for the day, collected all 17 pieces of him, and gave him a proper burial, coming up here on the two-seat side of the train. You'll see a large mound, and it does have a little cross on it. It's coming up on the two-seat side of the train, crossing the center of the train now. Now as we get higher and higher, you might see another wooden cross on the two-seat side of the train. This is not a grave, but it's actually a memorial for a young couple that was actually hiking up the mountain along our tracks. Now back in the day, it was actually pretty common for hikers to hike along the tracks. This was a young newlywed couple, and they decided to spend their honeymoon in Colorado, climb Pikes Peak. They were about 3/4 of the way up when the last train of the day came down, and they said, "Hey, you might want to come down with us. There's a blizzard on the way." Now this couple, being from Texas, probably didn't know what Colorado snow looked like, and they said, "No, we'll be fine. It's August." So they parted ways. Unfortunately, the next train of the morning found them almost to the summit, frozen to death on the railroad tracks. Now, when they were going through their belongings, here's the erratic part, they found a postcard in the gentleman's jacket. This postcard said, "Congratulations! Enjoy your trip to Colorado. Just don't freeze to death." And I can actually find a picture of that young couple down at our gift shop at the depot. If you're looking out on the free seat side of the train, you might have noticed a mountain that looks a little out of place. It doesn't have any vegetation growing on it. It's got its head chopped off and it looks like there's stair steps cut into it. This is actually the Victor and Cripple Creek gold mine, one of the most lucrative gold mines in the entire world. Since its opening in 1890, it has pulled out billions of dollars worth of gold, silver, and other precious metals. I'm told that to this day, we can still pull out about $1 million worth of gold every single day out of that mine. Now, if you're interested in checking out the gold mines around the Cripple Creek area, you can check out our friends at the Cripple Creek and Victor Narrow Gauge Railway. They take you around all the mine entrances and point them out for you. There is also a mine tour at a retired mine called the Molly Kathleen Mine, where you can actually go down inside of the gold mine.
Did you get a little cold? A little bit. Look out on the breezy side of the train, you might notice this winding road.
Peak Highway. This highway is about 20 miles long. It's home of the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, the second oldest race in the United States, second only to the Indy 500. Every year, and around the end of June, we have this race, and a French driver in 2018 beat the seemingly unbeatable 8-minute mark. He came up the mountain in 7 minutes and 57 seconds. He was driving an experimental electric car called the Volkswagen RDR. He was clocked going over 200 miles an hour on the straightaways and 90 miles an hour on these hairpin turns. If you were to drive up the Pikes Peak Highway at the posted speed limit, it would take you about an hour and a half to get up here.
Lots up there. It's on the road. You've been up here before. You'll remember.
Now, since we are almost on the summit, folks, I do need your attention one more time for some summit-related announcements. First things first, when is this train leaving the summit? 12:40. When are we boarding again? 12:30. When do you magically become a hiker? 12:31. So please make sure you're back on the train on time. These doors will be open, so if you see that they are closed, there is to come in and out of the train. You're welcome to leave your personal belongings here. Just please take your valuables with you, as there will be no one here to guard them. I do ask everyone to please take those windows right now, push the two black tabs all the way up. We do not want to come back to Big Red Refrigerator. Also, it helps keep the bugs out up here. Your time is limited up here, so I do recommend you use it wisely. I recommend you use the restrooms first, because it will be over an hour again before you see another restroom, so please use those restrooms up there. The Summit House Cafe should be open, so if you do decide to get any donuts or hot chocolates, please finish them off before you get back on the train.
The cold, yep. All day long. Every day.
Once again, I do not allow any outside food or drink on my train, so please do not bring anything to the Summit House on the train.
Going to the top, if you're at the top of the line, you'll put your jacket on, it's going to be cold.
If you do decide to do any rock scrambling today, please be careful and do not risk yourself for a selfie. Please do not play on my second set of tracks, as there are trains coming and going up here all the time. You do not want to come face to face with the big red train. Please be careful as you exit the train. There is a small gap between the train and the platform, especially if you're a tiny human with tiny feet. Please watch your step.
I think you're going to want that thing.
Alright everyone, now to get your bearings straight, we are nowhere near the Bering Strait. But over on the two-seat side of the train, that is due east towards the city of Colorado Springs and the border of Kansas. Towards the nose of the train, that is due north towards the small town of Woodland Park. On a clear day, you can see 5 states from the summit of Pikes Peak: Colorado, of course, Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, New Mexico, and sometimes if you're really lucky, you can actually see the border of Wyoming. If you're looking for the Summit House sign to take some pictures with, if you go into the Summit House and take the staircase up, or if you take the staircase up next to the Summit House, that'll take you to the Summit sign. I do ask that everyone please remain seated until the train has come to a complete stop. You'll know the train is safe to get off when you hear the all clear. It'll sound a little like this, all clear. So please remain seated until that time. Let's give yourself a round of applause, folks. You made it to the summit of Pikes Peak, 14,115 feet. Congratulations. You'll be sitting in the same seats and you'll be boarding the same train. So take a look at those silver taps above your windows and take note of where you're seating.
Wow.
Once again, please remain in those seats until the train has come to a complete stop.
Now you can go to your house.
You're nice. Here's the deal. Listen to what we're saying.
Please remain seated.
Stop. Listen to what we're saying.
All right, all clear, everyone. Welcome to Pikes Peak.